Let's talk about Iran, because we are waiting for a response from Iran in this negotiation over this one-page memo that has been put out there to try and end this war. Iran has responded earlier saying Operation Trust Me, Bro failed. Now we're hearing from Iranian officials that they have spoken with the Ayatollah. We've also heard from Donald Trump saying that, to Fox News the same night that Iran responded that the war will be wrapped up in a week. As a veteran and a member of Congress, what do you think must happen now?
Well, I think the war just needs to end. It should never have started in the first place. This is something that Donald Trump took upon himself, and only I don't know why he decided to do this, but the situation he created, it's self-imposed. He created this whole thing with the stoppage of the strait and the rising gas prices and the prices of everything are rising because of his action. And so right now he's just trying to figure out a way. And every time the price of oil goes up, he seems to make a statement about how we're close to a deal. Look, the JPCOA is something that he has said he didn't like. That was a horrible deal. Okay, fine. You should have been negotiating when you were in your first term to make a better one if you didn't like that current deal. And right now he didn't do that, and so we're in this situation now.
You're speaking about the Obama-led deal that took a couple of years that was focused on Iran's nuclear program, stopping them from being able to go forward with a nuclear weapon. I do want to ask you about Congress's role here. A former Democratic congresswoman who you would know from California, Jane Harman, says Congress has basically given up their powers, and as she called them, they are CACO, which stands for Congress Always Chickens Out, when it comes to dealing with the president, including his war with Iran. Is she right?
Well, look, this Republican-led Congress has done that. This is why this election coming up in November is so important. We need Democratic control to take back over the House, and then you will have a Congress that stands up to the president, that has oversight over the administration. But right now, Republicans are just too afraid to stand up to the president because they're worried that he's going to go after them and find somebody else to run against them. I mean, you just saw what happened in Indiana in their state elections. 5 state senators that opposed him and didn't want to draw new lines. He found people to run against them, and they lost their election. Members of Congress, Republican members of Congress, don't want that to happen to them, so they refuse to speak up. And it has led to this administration taking action and really kind of not, giving away our constitutional powers, as a House of Representatives. We've given them up and just basically let the president do whatever he wants, which it shouldn't be that way.
Let me ask you about what we just saw earlier, which is Marco Rubio meeting with the Pope. As a Catholic and a lawmaker, what do you hope comes out of this meeting between the first U.S. pontiff, Pope Leo, and the Secretary of State after what could only be called an unprecedented verbal attack by the president on the Pope, and the Pope responding to that?
Look, the Pope does not want Iran to have nuclear weapons, as the president has said. They have always been against war. They're always going to speak out against war. They're going to speak out against nuclear weapons. And so I think the president kind of needs to understand where the church is coming from, where the Pope is coming from, that they are always going to, push for peace and never take military action. And so it's unfortunate that the president has attacked the Pope, and I hope, hopefully the Secretary of State has kind of been able to create some kind of goodwill there to kind of show that, hey, we need to get back to good relations with the Holy See and good relations with the Pope, and we should be championing this our first American Pope, right? We should have a good relationship with him, and it's unfortunate that the president has not done that.
Now, let me take you to your state where I think you're in Covina right now. California has been run by a large Democratic majority, I think since 2008, nearly 2 decades. Do you think it's a bit lazy of the gubernatorial candidates to constantly bring up Trump instead of recognizing and trying to find solutions to the problems specific to California, which happened under Democrats?
Well, look, the president is causing a lot of our problems right now, right? The fact that gas prices have risen is because of what the president is doing right now in the Middle East and his actions with Iran. That's what's causing gas prices to go up. His tariffs are causing to be things more expensive. I was at a small business yesterday that said, the prices of the items that they are trying to sell have gone up. They have to add that tariff cost onto their prices, and it's unfortunate for them that people are not now buying their products. So these actions are being caused by the president. So I think they are well within their rights, and what they should be saying, right, is that the president has caused this, and so yes, it is the president's fault, and they should be attacking him.
You don't think that Democrats have any skin in the game for some of the other issues like homelessness and the sort of deficits that they're seeing with their state finances? They had a surplus and now a deficit.
I mean, look, I think our state government always has to do better and strive to do better. And yes, I think as Democrats in charge, they should be working towards, having a surplus. But California is still, the fourth largest economy in the world. Can we do better at homelessness? Yes, we do. We need to get people into shelters. We need to ensure that people get the treatment they need for whether it be for drug or alcohol. But what this is doing, the rising cost of healthcare, the rising cost of goods, the rising cost of gasoline is all because of this administration. And it's unfortunate that we have to do it, not only here in California, but across the nation are having to deal with that because of what the president's actions.
Congressman Gil Cisneros, thank you so much for joining us this morning from California. John?